When our real sun began to fade, humanity found itself on the brink of absolute extinction. Glaciers swallowed entire continents, turning a once thriving planet into a cold, breathless desert of solid ice. But instead of surrendering to the dark, we challenge the universe itself. If nature takes away our light, we create our own. This is Project Helios, the most ambitious megastructure ever designed by the human mind. We are not talking about a reactor. We are talking about a star, enclosed in a titanium cage the size of a sea. The foundation was laid deep into the Earth's mantle, gigantic drills piercing the frozen crust without pause. Millions of tons of super-strong alloy were poured into the crater, built to withstand temperatures hotter than the real sun's core. At the exact center of the structure forms its heart, a giant spherical vacuum chamber, every panel polished to atomic precision, designed not to absorb, but to instantly reflect devastating thermal radiation. Colossal electromagnetic rings were erected around the chamber, their thickness exceeding entire city blocks. These rings are our virtual walls, because no physical material on Earth can contain the heat of stellar plasma. Super heavy vehicles delivered parts across the planet's frozen oceans. Thousands of autonomous welding drones worked without rest, stitching together the metallic veins of this sleeping giant. The structure grew so vast that workers commuted inside it on internal transport trains. To power the ignition, we needed the combined energy of every nuclear plant left on Earth. Superconducting cables, as thick as subway tunnels, stretched across the ice from generators to the magnetic coils. Engineers worked in heavy thermal suits, battling blizzards as temperatures plummeted to -80 degrees. Every millimeter was calculated by artificial intelligence. The slightest error would mean an explosion on a planetary scale. To cool the magnets, entire underground rivers were redirected, pumping liquid helium into massive cryogenic pipes. Reservoirs of deuterium and tritium were sealed in tungsten vaults directly beneath the reactor core. This invisible radioactive gas would soon become the fuel that grants our frozen world a second chance. Along the chamber's perimeter, 192 ultra-powerful lasers were installed, each capable of piercing a mountain. Their single task: focus all their energy into one point the size of a grain of sand. When the final piece of the outer shell was secured, the machine resembled a dormant steel volcano resting in the snow. Something vast, something waiting. Inside the main control room, hidden deep beneath the ice, a silence fell. Almost religious. Life support switched to economy mode, diverting everything to the ignition capacitors. The vacuum process began, pumping every molecule of air from the chamber to create a perfect void. Then the magnetic field engaged. The stadium-sized rings began to hum with such force that vibrations were felt for miles. This deep, low-frequency sound, like the heartbeat of a metallic god, slowly awakening from its frozen slumber. Using magnetic levitation, the fuel capsule was gently injected into the center of the void. A tiny spark, the future sun. The cooling system operated at its absolute limit, thick ice forming instantly over the cryogenic pipes. The final countdown began. Hundreds of screens flashed with data, monitoring the microseconds until the moment of truth. The lasers synchronized. Crystal optics aligned with nanometer precision. Ignition. 192 lasers fired simultaneously, delivering terawatts of energy into the tiny capsule in a fraction of a millisecond. the fuel pellet compressed to a density thousands of times greater than solid lead, collapsing inward like a dying star. A flash of blinding white light erupted from the center of the chamber. Fusion had begun. Internal temperature spiked to 100 million degrees, hotter than the core of our actual sun. Plasma expanded with a chaotic purple and gold glow, raging with unimaginable fury, desperately trying to escape. But the magnetic walls held, compressing this energy into a perfect, invisible sphere. Then, a disruption. A violent tendril of pure fire broke through the magnetic trap, striking the inner armor. Warning sirens wailed. Hexagonal mirror tiles melted instantly, turning into floating drops of liquid silver inside the zero-gravity core. Engineers frantically redistributed power to the damaged sector. The facility vibrated. In those agonizing seconds, humanity's entire fate hung by a thread. Emergency valves blasted tons of liquid nitrogen into the cooling vents, engulfing the machine in white fog. The magnetic field thickened, like the hands of a titan, pushing the fiery beast back into its cage. The plasmasphere shuddered, smoothed, and finally stabilized, calming into a steady, vibrating orb of infinite energy. The light inside the chamber shifted from angry purple to the warm, blinding golden yellow of a natural sun. The fusion reaction was now entirely self-sustaining. The star had ignited, perfectly contained, feeding on its own energy, forever. Power meters surged to maximum as gigawatts flowed back into the grid, ready to revive dead cities across the world. Then came the second phase. The armored dome of the reactor slowly opened, like a metallic lotus flower unfolding over the frozen wasteland. For the first time in decades, a brilliant pillar of pure golden light shot straight into the sky. It pierced through the storm clouds, creating a massive glowing halo high in the atmosphere. The glacial ice surrounding the structure melted instantly, boiling into a steaming lake of fresh water. Massive glaciers collapsed with thunderous cracks. The heat spread for miles. High above, orbital mirror satellites unfolded their golden sails in Earth's orbit, catching the beam of light and scattering it back down across the planet like a prism. A planetary illumination system, built by human hands. Across the world, abandoned cities were suddenly illuminated. Golden light reflected off icy skyscrapers. Heating systems vented thick steam as they powered back on, melting snow from silent rooftops. And then, the moment that made every calculation, every crisis, every frozen night worth it. People stepped out from their bunker doors in thick fur coats, looking up at an illuminated sky, removing their goggles, feeling warmth, real warmth, on their faces for the first time in years. A tear of pure joy freezing on a cold cheek. And from beneath the melting ice, a single green plant broke through. One leaf unfurling in the new artificial sunlight, the most powerful image of the entire project. Life deciding to try again. The orbital mirrors shifted their angle, tracking the light across the Earth's surface, simulating the natural cycle of day and night. Frozen valleys thawed. Cold water began to flow. Green grass appeared where ice had been for decades. The reactor now stood at the center of a growing oasis, surrounded by retreating winter. Thick pipelines carried heat outward, glowing like golden veins across the recovering landscape. A massive cargo ship broke through thinning ice on a newly thawed ocean, sailing toward an artificial sunset. Inside the core, the star burned steadily within its magnetic cage. Around it, a new city rose, powered by infinite energy. A new society, built on the proof that the worst imaginable crisis cannot stop a species that refuses to stop. From orbit, Earth was still mostly white, but at its center, a massive golden spot, spreading, growing. The orbital mirrors shone like a constellation of new stars, reflecting light across the dark side of the planet. The real sun, just a dim dot on the horizon. Our artificial sun, absolute and blazing in the sky above.